Hey everybody, welcome back to a max velocity weather forecast, and today what we're going over is that severe weather potential for both today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday severe weather outbreak. We have a lot to get to in this forecast. We'll give you the latest timing, the details for each and every day, and everything that you need to know will be in this forecast. Let's hop right into it. So as of right now, there is a slight risk for severe weather that does include actually northern Missouri now, and as well as a good portion of Illinois. This is a pretty new outlook now. We also have a slight risk that extends all the way down into basically the southeast. We've had this risk ongoing for the last several days. It's going to continue. It's slightly further to the south, but it does include areas like Tennessee, northern Georgia, the Carolinas, as well as southern Virginia. The main threats today will be damaging winds, maybe a little bit of isolated large hail, and also a tornado or two cannot be ruled out. And the main tornado threat today will likely be up here later this afternoon and possibly even into the evening hours. And there is also a slight risk of severe weather back up in Montana and as well as into western portions of the Dakotas. And a marginal risk does extend back into areas like the northern Texas Panhandle. It actually goes now into northwestern Oklahoma, so there might be actually some beneficial rainfall for those areas later today. There's also a marginal risk in Kansas and portions of Nebraska as well. Let's get to the timing though. For those in Missouri this afternoon, we'll start to see some showers and storm activity start to develop possibly as early as 3 to 4 o'clock. Obviously, we have that line of storms going through Illinois right now. That will start to weaken out. Not going to be that severe at this point, but there is a couple of storms that will develop close to areas like St. Louis by about 4 to 5 o'clock Central Time. Going to 6, 7 o'clock, storms move off to the east. We'll have more storm development really after sunset. You can start to see again by 10 o'clock more storms near St. Louis. A whole cluster of storms that will start to develop near Kansas City, back up near Quincy as well. Eventually by 3 to 4 in the morning, storms are moving down to the southeast, and eventually by 6 to 7 o'clock, all those storms shift off to the east with remaining isolated showers back off to the west. But other than that, fairly minimal activity heading into Friday. Here's taking a look at the timing for those over in the Carolinas and anywhere along the East Coast. We'll have some showers and storms develop this afternoon into the early evening hours. Now, these will not nearly be as widespread as what we saw yesterday, but those that do see it, again, severe weather is going to be possible. Damaging winds being the main threat with maybe some $quarter to $half sized hail. By 10 to 11 o'clock, storms near Raleigh. We'll start to see eventually a little small cluster of storms in eastern North Carolina. That will shift off the coastline going to tomorrow morning, and that'll eventually set up for our next severe weather potential on Friday. And again, we'll have more on that in just a second. Here's tomorrow's outlook for those, again, over in the northern plains. There's another slight risk of severe weather up in Montana. This is basically the prerequisite to what we'll see eventually in Minnesota with the severe weather outbreak. Again, more on that later in this forecast. A marginal risk of severe weather extends through areas like the western plains, so western Kansas, western Nebraska, and even the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles will have a little low-end chance for some severe weather. And then eventually tomorrow, again, another marginal risk of severe weather all across the Ohio Valley into the East Coast, the Southeast. This may get upgraded to a slight risk by the time this is uploaded, but as of right now, it is a marginal risk. Tomorrow, the tornado threat tomorrow is actually going to be a little bit larger overall in scale. Again, only an isolated tornado or two may be possible. It'd be brief and weak overall, but there is a tornado threat for those over in Illinois, central and southern Indiana, southwestern Ohio, and a good portion of Kentucky and eastern Missouri. Here's a look at the timing for tomorrow across the areas, really anywhere in Illinois. This is Friday at 7 in the morning. You can see there will be a whole cluster of showers and storms across these areas. Eventually going 10 to 11 o'clock, a line of storms moving through Kentucky. Again, main threats there will be damaging winds and maybe a brief tornado. And then going to the afternoon hours, more storms will develop across areas like central in Illinois as well as Indiana. And eventually going to the evening hours, storms will start to clear out. We'll have a bit better of a sleep, it looks like, for those areas. If you have any plans for the following day going to Saturday, you should get a good night's sleep because there won't be a whole lot of storm activity then. Here's a look at timing for tomorrow as well for those over in the Carolinas and as well as Virginia. You can start to see more shower and storm activity developing. Again, we got our line of storms back out here to the west. That'll really traject down to the east, southeast. Eventually going into the evening hours, we'll have that line of storms moving off to the east, going towards areas like Greensboro, Danville, Charlottesville, Harrisonburg, all those areas, and eventually going to the overnight hours, some more clusters of showers and storms. So there will be a better chance for rain overall heading into Friday night into Saturday for those in the Carolinas and anywhere in the southeast. But overall, again, severe weather is still on the low scale right now. I do think they'll get upgraded though at some point to a slight risk of severe weather for mainly damaging winds. Here's a look at as well as Saturday's severe weather outlook. There's another slight risk of severe weather up here in areas like North Dakota, western Minnesota, and as well as northeastern Montana. Another marginal risk of severe weather across the southeast that just keeps shifting slightly further to the south. Overall, though, a couple of isolated showers or storms may be possible. A cold front will fuel this actually. A weak cold front might come through Texas, bringing an isolated shower or storm, by the way. No severe weather is expected there, though. Here's a look at the overall potential going into Sunday. Now, this is the big day. We actually have a potential for a severe weather outbreak going to Sunday. That's why I've been mentioning this a lot. All modes of severe weather are currently possible. We'll have a pretty strong low-level jet, most likely down here, portions of southern Minnesota. So this will be an area to watch very closely. Again, all modes, meaning damaging winds, large hail, a few tornadoes also going to be possible going into Sunday. That That slight risk also extends into areas like northeastern South Dakota and southeastern North Dakota. All right, let's take a look at the timing going into Sunday. As of right now, showers and storms are expected to develop going into later portions of Sunday, so closer to about 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. That's when storms are currently forecasted to develop. It might develop slightly earlier, though. Just keep that in mind. Going into the evening hours, you can start to see showers and storms moving off to the east, and eventually going to the overnight hours, all those storms will start to shift into Wisconsin, which they might bring an isolated threat of severe weather, but overall the severity of these storms will be lesser as it enters into areas like Wisconsin. So definitely an area to watch going into Sunday. Again, more specific timing coming soon. Stay tuned here with Max Velocity for the latest. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and turn on post notifications. Here's a look at the low-level jet, by the way. We will have a pretty strong low-level jet up here in Minnesota. You can see 50 to 60 knots is actually a fairly moderate to almost strong low-level jet. That's why I'm concerned about that tornado threat heading into late Sunday. So you eventually see that low-level jet is still somewhat strong even heading into Wisconsin. So we'll have to watch that area too. But I do think the storms overall will weaken as they move into areas like Wisconsin going into, again, late Sunday into Monday morning. All right, let's take a look at the overall temperatures over the next several days. I know a lot of you are wondering, when will this heat wave ever end across the United States? It's been brutal for those in the Central Plains, anywhere over in Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, anywhere really in the central portions of the United States. It's been brutal. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a breakdown on when we could see our next cool down. Obviously, there will be a cool down for those up in New England. Obviously, there's a bit of a trough that's going to kind of drop down that direction. Some cool down will come to that area. There's also going to be a brief cool down across areas like the northern plains heading into this weekend because of that little low pressure system that will bring some severe weather potential for those up in Minnesota. But you can eventually see that there will be that, again, some cool down over on the East Coast. We'll eventually see sometime mid to late next week, a bit of a cool down dropping down into the central plains. And this could very well bring, any of this cooler weather is really appreciated to this point. But this will likely drop down and most likely come as far south as areas like North Texas by late next week. So definitely something to watch. Overall, the cool down will not be major. It's going to at least bring maybe a 5 to 10 degree difference to some areas for maybe a couple of days, maybe 3 to 4 days. But overall, it's going to be pretty minimal. And at this point, the European model is showing a major heat wave for those up in the northern plains heading into next weekend. But obviously, there's a lot in between now and then, so we're not going to really speculate too much on that as of now. So let me give you a quick breakdown on the tropics. There isn't a whole lot going on right now, but we still have a hurricane ongoing over in the Pacific Ocean. This is actually from Bonnie. This actually developed in the Atlantic Ocean before making landfall near Costa Rica, and now it's over into the Pacific Ocean. It has been obviously spurring up a lot of waves and whatnot. This did become a major hurricane at one point. It is now down to a Category 1 hurricane. Still a lot of thunderstorm activity. It is a very impressive hurricane still as a Category 1. It will continue to move off to the west. As of now, it's not expected to make any impacts to land, which is good news. Overall, here's the National Hurricane Center's track as of right now. So again, the wind field is basically right here. It's far to the south right now of the peninsula over Mexico. But other than that, it'll be a hurricane probably for at least the next 24 hours. It'll become a tropical storm by tomorrow and eventually to a tropical depression late Saturday. Again, sustained winds as of right now are 90 miles per hour. So it still is definitely a Category 1 hurricane, but it will continue to move. It will continue to move off to the west and also weaken in cooler waters. And also just a quick update on the Atlantic tropics. There is absolutely nothing in the forecast for the next 5 days. You can very well see there's hardly anything out here, and it's mainly because we have just a very strong wind shear pattern right now. Bermuda highs dominating the region as well, and then we have very strong wind shear along with it. It's a perfect actually opportunity for nothing to develop because we just don't have anything to be able to be developed with this very strong wind shear we have right now across the Atlantic Ocean. So very good news overall for right now, but again, I do expect hurricane season to start to ramp up a bit more later this month. So stay tuned again with Max Velocity here on our YouTube page for the latest. Subscribe, make sure to hit the like button down below. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting and All Dense Repair.